Paris Marine was founded by my grandfather Jack Paris back in 1946. Both of his sons Noel and Bill Paris worked in the company, and eventually my parents Bill and Jan Paris purchased from my grandfather back in 1974. I have owned the company and purchased from my parents back in 2005, and now we reflect on 80 years of family-owned business.
Jack Paris was a mechanic in Weston, Ontario, and he had his own dealership. And one day he got tired of the heat and he got tired of the car business, and he threw his tools down and he said, "I'm leaving town." So when he did that, he knew of the area up here and he knew that it was a great place to live, so he settled in Young's Point. In 1944, he built himself a house and a little shed that turned out to be his first showroom. And it was about 20 by 12. In fact, I remember a 16-foot canoe would barely fit inside it. And back in that point in time, he worked for London Life as a debt collector, and he'd go to homes and collect money, collect premium money for London Life, and then he would started back into the real estate business. So he had an opportunity to sell properties on the water, so he considered himself to be a summer property specialist. Well, with that being part of it, it allowed him to get into the boat business. So he thought that, well, this goes kind of hand in hand. So Peterborough Boats and Johnson Motors were looking for dealers at the time, so he hooked up with them, and that was the natural part of it. He also opened a bait shop because he believed that communication with the customer was the most important thing, so find a reason for them to come to you. And the bait shop did that, and so did the dealership. So he would sell little motors and small boats, and he imported boats from Moncton, New Brunswick, from Chestnut Canoe Company, and I'd go down with Dad to the train station, and we'd get cedar trip boats and canoes wrapped in burlap, and we'd put them on the trailer and bring them home. And that was kind of the start of it all. And then in the early 50s, in 1958, he found this location, which is back in those days, was at the corner of Highway 28 and 507 across the street. And it was a good juncture because that 507 goes to Buckhorn. This was the main artery to go to Clear and Stony. So he could trap the people right here. So he did a great job of promoting Paris Marine, the wooden boat business back at the time, and Johnson Motors, and it just grew from that day forward.
Describing Paris Marine in one sentence isn't hard. Our job is to create memories for families on the water. So people from Peterborough and the Kawartha Lakes, they want to spend time out on what we have to offer, these beautiful, majestic lakes. What we do is provide products really from every single budget, and we back them with exceptional service.
Because of Dad's involvement with the insurance business, it gave him an opportunity to meet a lot of people. So he was involved with people at a younger age, both with London Life and with the real estate business and with the introduction of boats and motors. So it was a natural. He just loved to be with people, and people loved to be with him. He had a flamboyant personality, and people liked that. And he was just a good guy to be around, good guy to hang around, and he was a hard worker. Loved to work, loved people, and he loved to be near the water.
The greatest thing about the dealership, and something that's never changed, is we always answer the phone. A real live body answers your call every single time. And doing that adds a bit of personal touch every time we communicate with you, and it never leaves you on hold. So you're always able to talk to someone right away. That hasn't changed from back in the 40s, and it won't change into the future.
I was fortunate because that's the start of the boat business really back in those days. The biggest boat built at the time was really 16 feet. And so I had an opportunity to hook up with Larry Lozon, the owner of Thundercraft, at the Toronto Boat Show. And when Dad was selling his docks there, which I would help him with, and then we decided to bring Thundercraft on board. And believe it or not, no lift truck, 14-foot boats, and he had the Sprint and the Playmate, and he had a little speedboat called a Wildcat, and we'd take them off the truck by hand. We'd slide them back, drop them down, hold them up with your transoms, settle them on the ground, swing them around, and set them down. And that was really the start of it. So one of the highlights of the marine business for me was meeting Larry Lozon. He became a very close friend. Both he and his wife and his 3 daughters were close to our 3 daughters. We would travel together, and that just started the boat business off. We expanded the showroom a little bit, put Larry's boats inside it, and then the business just started to grow from there.
I think some of my favorite stories from the dealership are watching families grow up on the lake. We have clients whose kids learn how to water ski, go off to college, get married, have their own babies, and introduce their children to boating. So we have generations of families growing up on the water, which is such a privilege to watch.
I had 3 daughters, and the 3 daughters had some interest in the boat business. One especially, Deborah, she worked for the summers, and I gave no favoritism to my kids. I mean, if you want to come work here, you're welcome to, but if you can't cut the mustard, you can't stay. So and that's the way it was. And then kids worked for a while. They all went off to university, and they couldn't wait to leave. I remember we dropped Deborah off at university. She walked in the door, never saw her again. Bye, Mom and Dad, and that was it. See you later. So you've seen that commercial where you get happy because your kids are gone to university. Now you got your free time. It was great. So Deb went to university, and she worked with us a bit over the summertime, as well as Tracy did, our oldest daughter. And then at the end of university, we got a call from Deborah that said, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to take over the business." So Mom and I laughed and said, "Yeah, right. I'll tell you what, why don't you come work it for 5 years, and then we'll see at the end of 5 years how things go." And so here we are today, sitting in the showroom, and she's done a wonderful job taking the business to a new level.
I think heritage is important. You know, why we have some of these older pictures of the dealership, why we hang on to some of our antique boats. Heritage is important. And I think what we learn from the previous generations, customer service, integrity, giving back, being a full-time year-round employer, those things are very important because it gives our employees and our partners stability, and it gives the customer continuity. So will that stuff ever change? No. Will we get better and faster at communicating and make bookings and registrations easier? Likely. When I think about the future, will we morph into virtual training for women making waves? Set up a channel for that? More than likely, so that we can reach more people and help more people safely operate their boats and get out on the water longer.
Dad had a great smile, and he would always joust with people and joke with them, and he had a lot of friends that would come to the house, and they'd have the odd beer together, and they'd talk about fish stories, and Dad loved to fish and hunt, and a lot of the people he hung around with were of the same mind. They were fisher people, hunter people, and he would spend lots of time going up north trout fishing, and he would spend lots of time at Clear Lake fishing. In fact, if you look at the inside page of the 1947 Johnson catalog, this is the catalog that was across Canada. Inside the front cover is Dad's picture standing in a cedar strip boat with an old Johnson motor on, holding a trout. And that was a natural picture. He threw a line over, he caught the fish, and nobody could believe it. He pulled it up and held the fish and took that picture. It was such a great picture, they used that at the inside of the 1947 Johnson catalog, which I still have today.
Gosh, if Grandpa could see the dealership today. I have looked through the old photos and seen where it was, and we have these wonderful pictures of the first showroom from like 1946. So we can walk through the legacy and the heritage of the dealership right in the front door of the current showroom. What would I think he would say? He would say, if you haven't stopped in, you should. And then he'd say, welcome to the family.
I'd like to share this one story. This is Jack in one of his famous wooden boats. So this is a Port Carling Seabird, which he was a dealer for back in the 50s. This particular boat is a 1955 Seabird, of which he had a pair of them, and they're still in the family, by the way. So when he used to sell the boats, he used to run cruises up the lake. So back in the 1950s, he used to run this 25-mile boat cruise, and he would start at Young's Point, and he would go up to Mount Julian and the Viamede Resort. And the guys that owned those resorts were friends of his, and that's a picture of him in the boat. So he, for some reason, stopped using the boats after he took over the marina, and he stored them. So he had these pair of boats, 1955s, that sat in a shed under a blanket for 20 years. So when Dad passed, these boats were given to my brother and myself. So I brought the boat home, hadn't been in the water for over 20 years. You got to soak these boats up because they're natural cedar bottoms. When I put water in, the water ran it so fast, for 5 days the water ran it. I figured it's never going to seal up, but it did. And I still use that boat today, and we take it to shows in different areas. And I belong to the Trent Severn Antique Boat Club. We go in different events, and a bunch of wooden boats go all through Stony Lake and wherever they're holding an event. And it's very important to Paris heritage And in fact, this boat would belong to Deborah at one point.
We're all very proud that we made it 3 generations. A lot of companies can't and don't. I mean, I think less than 5% of companies can successfully transition to their 3rd generation. So I think my grandfather would be very proud. I know my dad is. I know my siblings are as well. And I think we're just really excited for the next 10 years.